morning, we sort of talked about some sort of greater philosophical issues about this idea of service and what our roles are in other countries and what we take away when we come home. And at the very end, someone brought up the idea of dailiness and the invisibility of dailiness. And I really think that one of the cool things about immersing yourself in another culture is that other people's dailiness becomes visible, because you notice things that other people wouldn't notice in their everyday lives. And then when you come home, your own dailiness is sort of revealed to you because you've been living this different life for months. And so what I'd like to ask this group is, are there things that you noticed about just your daily life that may have changed when you came home, or perhaps ways that you got along with your family differently, having lived with another family, or little things that you noticed when you got to other countries that you might want to incorporate in your life here?
I can kind of begin with that. I know that one thing that was kind of interesting with my situation coming into Italy is that I could relate with the population as being an Italian-American who was kind of returning to the motherland, so to speak. And so there was a term of endearment in the sense that they saw me as someone wanting to reconnect with the culture, and they didn't so much see me as an outsider per se. And I think that that really just spoke to the nature that whether it's at home or a place where you might have a connection or a place where you have no connections, people, I think, genuinely are just trying to get you to reach out. And then if you can reach out to other people and do things that speak to them or move them, then that's going to make all the difference. I know that while I was there, I encountered somebody as I was walking back to that bar cafe that he looked at me like he recognized me, and then the only thing he said to me was Inglese, and it was a guy that had heard my story, and when I explained it to him, he just thought it was beautiful, and he shook my hand and left. And so, just to know that I was the talk of a town because I was willing to reach out to them, really kind of speaks worlds about things.
Anybody else? Is there anything you brought back with you as far as sort of how you see things in your daily lives that might have changed?
For me, the program that I went on, I was obviously in places a lot in the world where there are scarce resources, and our group actually did stay at a camp for 3 nights in the middle of the jungle called Washak Tune. It was a concession with the Maya Biosphere Reserve, and we actually ran out of water for like 30 hours. We just didn't have water, and a lot of people got really sick. Food poisoning, actually, and it was a really bad time to not have water. So that kind of hit me really hard, just thinking how in the United States, I've never thought twice about not having water available. I get crabby when the shower turns cold if I take a really long hot shower. I mean, just stupid little petty things like that. And so coming back from a place where I often encountered not having enough food to keep me full, not having enough water, the electricity is very faulty if there even is electricity available, not having tile floors. I mean, just coming back home, I realized how people in the United States in general as a group, and myself as well, I take long hot showers. I waste food all the time, and I've been trying to, I don't know if I've fully implicated this into my life yet because I just got back, but I found myself trying to waste food less, eat more locally, turn the lights off in every room when I leave, and use less water, and just trying to implicate what the experiences I had with scarce resources to like how life in the United States, we seem to waste a lot, and we take a lot of things that are so prevalent in other countries, like problems with resources, for granted. So that's been a challenge, but I just got back, so.
I think I walked a lot more, simply because and I had to walk 2 hours a day from La Vista to Sarcero, which is where I did most of the food research. And it wasn't that I was supposed to walk or anything like that, but it was a very meditative experience to do it so much, and especially when it was really beautiful there too. So it was a nice opportunity to think a lot about what you were doing there. And I guess I approach that part of my life different now when I just like walk in what I can do for you, I guess.
I guess for me it was kind of this return to consumer culture, kind of what Eric had mentioned yesterday about the vaccine, consumers of vaccine. And I think when I returned, I definitely felt that I wanted something like that, you know, kind of a return to this peace with very simple ways of living. And then I guess, well, what she said about natural resources, I kind of had this huge contrast before and after my experience. The summer before I left, I was working in northern Minnesota on Lake Superior. It's the biggest lake, freshwater lake in the world, by surface area. So seeing that, and then living in this place where they can't get any clean water, and then going back to Lake Superior almost the weekend, I returned to this mind-blowing.
I miss dinners with my Italian host family. My family here, we don't eat dinner together. Usually my dad's in front of the TV, and so we kind of have our own little dinners that we can eat in whichever room, and we never really eat together. And when I was in Italy, we always sat down at the table for at least a half an hour every night, and we went around the table, what did you do today? What are you planning on doing this weekend or tomorrow? And just talking about, daily things that I got to practice my Italian, I got to practice my English, and it was just a wonderful experience of just being able to sit down and discuss what had happened during the day and eat a lot of delicious food that I miss so much.
Kind of going off what Aaron and Sean said, be on a boat, you make everything yourself. Like, you make your own electricity, you make your own water. You can't throw anything into the ocean that has any form of plastic in it. And you just, coming back from an experience like that, and seeing like even the plastic cups we're using today, like I know that these are just going to go in the landfill, and there's just plastic. Like, be on a boat, you realize that plastic is in everything. Like, even we made Jell-O, and there's the inside of the Jell-O package is lined in plastic, so you can't throw that overboard because then the plastic would be getting in the ocean. Even the face cleaner I used this morning had little plastic beads, and those get into the ocean, and it's everywhere. And just coming back and seeing plastic used for everything, I'm still oh my gosh, what are we doing? What are we doing? This can't break down. So just the resource, it's just a big culture shock.
I want to continue off that point too. Also, there was a girl on my program that was, before the program, very, very environmentally aware, and she is not afraid of expressing her views, and we actually ended up becoming great friends. But right away, we were in Guatemala, and I got a styrofoam cup, and she yelled at me and said, "You don't need that, it doesn't break down, it will never decompose, don't get it." And so she kind of harshly let me know what her views were all the time, and I slowly got used to that. And I guess what I found difficult about coming back to the States is I lived in a place where I had all these realizations about waste, plastic, styrofoam, things we don't need, and how we do waste a lot of resources. And then I coming back and trying to explain that to people that haven't had the same experience. There's a fine line between imposing your views to the point of turning someone off. I know for my family, my mom's in the back, so I don't know, she could probably attest to this, but I get frustrated with my family sometimes if they leave the TV on, or if they leave the lights in the room on, or we use a lot of garbage, and we get a lot of food that comes in plastic wrap, and it's frustrating to try and explain to people that haven't had the same experience as you. Because before I went to Guatemala, I never really thought twice about the resources I was using, and then it's a really fine line. It's like a balancing act, trying to educate, but also inspire people to understand the experiences that you've had. It's a challenge.
The thing that struck me most in my experience is the human connection factor